She stood at the edge of the shattered hangar with wind from the broken dome pulling her dark hair across her cheek like a flag in stormlight, and she whispered something fearless that none of them could hear over the alarms. Yet every heart felt it, and Ben knew his careful plans were dust. Their name was Lily, an American engineer who came to the outpost to fix small things: doors that stuck, pipes that rang, vents that cried in the night. And now she walked toward the odd figure who waited amid sparks and smoke, taller than any person on base. Silver-skinned and wrapped in threads like woven wraith base, had called the figure an intruder, a risk to be caged, but Lily saw how the figure shielded a small cluster of children who were not human. Small and scared, pressing to her sides, and Lily felt the calm that had carried her through storms on the Atlantic coast and through grief the year. Her sister Claire passed sirens pushed like tides. The gate rumbled as it lowered, and the figure looked at Lily with eyes like soft glass. Not hostile, not pleading, simply steady, as if she had waited a very long time for someone to step forward. Without a weapon and without a leap, Jay ran up behind Lily and tugged her sleeve. Paige from Houston with grease on her fingers and a laugh that could warm a frozen room. And she said that command wanted the figure locked now, that every second meant dangerously held up her hands to show they were empty. Then spoke in a voice like a calm road at dawn, telling the figure that her name was Lily and that she could help if help was what the figure needeth. Figure tilted her head, and the children pressed closer. And one of them held out a shard of metal that glowed faint blue like a shard of sky. And Lily saw the pattern etched into it, the same pattern on the broken relay grid under Section C. A pattern that looked like a song written in math. Ben shouted from the catwalk that the unit on the ridge had a clear line. And Paige looked to Lily with worry and trust. And Lily took a slow breath and walked into the hangar, moved with the steady pace she used when a pipe bled steam. And she spoke again, telling the figure that the soldiers were scared and that fear made hands shake, that a calm answer could save children today. And the figure listened-eyed when Lily was close enough to see the fine lines that traced across the figure like rivers under moon. The figure spoke at last, and her voice was low and bright at once, like a viola in a power cut. And she gave a name that sounded like rain on metal, so Lily gave her an easy name. Naranira said the children were passengers from a ship that had cracked in the upper air, that the wreck had scattered song stones across the desert, and that the stones would call the hunters if left alone. And as Nira spoke, Lily felt the chill of that word. Hunter-soldiers tracked Nira. The unit on the ridge counted down, but Lily kept her voice warm, asking where the ship had fallen, not with a sharp edge, but like a friend who shares a map, and Nira pointed toward the old dry river outside the dome. And Lily knew there were vents under the sand tied to the relay grid, and the grid had been fragile. All Yersh told Ben to hold fire, told Paige to route power to the lower fans, told the commander that the vents would blow if they fired now. And for a moment all the voices tangled, then the gate stopped, and the rifles dipped. And in that thin space of quiet, Lily saw how it could bellowly crouch near the children, not too near, and smiled with a small warmth, the kind that says, "I see you, I will not break you." And one child with silver freckles showed her another shard. And Lily felt a plan rise like dawn's. Plan was simple: gather the stones, silence the call, guide the children to air that would not burn their lungs, mend the breach in the dome, and show the soldiers that skill beats fear when the clock runs fast. Nira watched Lily with attention like a lens, and her shoulders eased by a breath. And Lily knew she had a chance to build a bridge between a story told to keep people safe and a story told to keep people small, and ordered the ridge unit to stand down. Paige rolled a crate to Lily, and Lily held out her hands to the children, palms open, saying they could walk beside her and tell her where the stones lay. And they rose like small tides and followed thee, crossed the yard under a sky that looked torn by claws. And the wind brought the smell of dust and hot metal, and the watchers on the wall tracked them like shadows of birds. And Lily talked about simple things as they walked, about how air tastes sweet after rain, about how a big machine hum can be like a lullaby if you close your eyes. Nira walked on Lily's left, tall and quiet, and Paige kept pace on the right. And Ben followed with a team who had set their rifles to rest, not surrender, just rest. And every step felt like it could crack or carry at the dry river. They found the first stone half buried and singing so soft that Lily felt it more than heard it. A thin vibration in her bones, and Nira knelt and showed Lily how to cup it with the crate shield so the call folded into itself. And Lily learned fast they found another stone near a rusted rover, and another under a torn thermal blanket. And as they worked, the sky shifted. Light went from harsh to pale. And fear in Lily's chest turned from sharp to clear, not gone. But Clinton called out that a dust surge was coming, that they had minutes before it hit, and Paige tossed masks from her bag. And Nira pulled a cloak over the children like a small tent. And when the surge came, it hit like a wall of dry ocean, but they held. And the stones stayed quiet. When the air cleared, a shadow rose from the sand. A machine with legs like cut wire, eyes like dull ice. A hunter that smelled of old war, and it turned toward the singing that still lingered. Soldiers tensed. Ben raised a hand. Paige reached for a flare. But Lily took one step forward and lifted the crate shield and held the stone high. And she did not run from the fear that shook her. She made a space for it, and found a memory from a training day with a magnet crane that danced to fields. Uncinched asked Nira with a glance if the hunter listened to field lines. And Nira gave the smallest nod, and Lily turned to the relay box half buried near the bend, tore open the panel with a bar, and saw the coil inside. Cracked but alive with Paige at her side and Ben at her back, Lily wired the coil to the crate shield, shaped the field so the stone call bent around them like a loop, and the hunter stalled, legs twitching, eyes dimmer. As if it had lost the path, and it turned away and sank back into the sand. The team let out breaths they did not know they held. The children looked at Lily with wonder that felt heavy and warm, and Nira placed a hand near Lily's shoulder, without quite touching. A gesture that said, "We share a bridge now." They gathered the last stones as the sun slid toward the ridge, then walked back slow and whole. Guards watched, not like hawks now, but like neighbors at a fence. Gates opened on smooth bearings, and the base took a breath it had needed all week in the hangar. Lily set the stones in a circle inside the crate and used the coil to shape a hush that felt like snow. And the alarm lights calmed, and the commander who had wanted chains now spoke in a steady voice. Saying that talk was wiser than sparks, Nira told them about the crack in the ship and the long fall, about a choice to dive toward a place with air and hands. And Lily added small notes that turned fear into shape, and Ben backed her with numbers, and Paige backed her with fixes. And the base shifted from a wall to a table during the night the children slept in a warm room with soft blankets and a slow fan. And Lily sat in the corridor with Paige and Ben and Nira, sharing a flask of water and quiet words. And Nira asked why Lily had stepped forward when so many stepped back. Lee looked at the shut door and the line of light at its base and said that grief had taught her small truths. That fear loves a big coat, but skill loves quiet shoes. That she had learned to listen for the small sound that says this path is worth it, this hand is safe, this bridge can hold. Nira listened and leaned in and whispered something fearless. Not loud, not long, only a thread of sound that touched the air and settled into silence. And Lily felt her mind tilt, not in panic, but in a new alignment. Like a compass that finds a truer north, whisper carried a promise that Nira would trust human hands with the repair of her ship. That she would teach what she could, that she would ask before she took, and that human skill would carry across distance of mind and story. And Lily felt both the weight and the gift of that promise in the days that followed. Lily led a crew to the dry river at dawn and sunset, raising quiet towers and tuning the hush so no hunter would find a path. And Paige kept the machines clean, and Ben kept the perimeter watchful. And the children learned to laugh at the mess hall table where the bread smelled. Like school mornings, Nira walked the yard at night and traced the stars with her hand. And Lily walked with her and traded names, old names from other songs, and names like Big Dipper and Morning Star. And in these trades they made anew. Map news went out that a base had chosen bridges over chains, and other stations sent messages that felt like doors cracking open. And a small convoy came with blankets and fruit and toy cars that made the children laugh like Belsteer were hard moments. A night when the generator stuttered and the hush flickered. A dawn when a scout sent back an image of legs like cut wire near the rover. But the base had learned a new rhythm. Fear came, yes. But it did not sit in the captain's chair. It stood at the rail while skill took the wheel.